Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Chairman Powell, it's good to see you. And let me first applaud you and your team at the Fed for, at least so far, being on track to bring down inflation without, so far, triggering a surge, big uptick in unemployment. But you know very well that that's a risk if the Fed does not act with full awareness of that danger. When you were here in March, you said that you were, quote, well aware, unquote, of the risk to unemployment of waiting too long to cut rates and, quote, very conscious of avoiding it, unquote. Since then, we have seen a slowing in the economy and a rise in unemployment. I'm just reading something today, an analysis with Diane Swank, KPMG's chief economist, who summed it up by saying, quote, the ice is thinning, red flags are emerging for the U.S. economy, unquote. The engine of the economy, the labor market, is cooling faster than previously known. The unemployment rate is above 4% for the first time since 2021. It is taking workers longer to find jobs. Economic activity in the service sector, which is responsible for 2/3 of economic growth, slowed in June. So my question, Mr. Chairman, is how do you take all of these factors into account? Do you share my concern that as of today, there is a real risk of an increase in unemployment larger than is currently on your radar screen?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I do, even more so than in March when we were here, see that. So we've seen, and I think the latest data show that labor market conditions have now cooled considerably from where they were 2 years ago. And I wouldn't have said that until the last couple of readings. And I would say also that for a long time, the risks were more that we would fail to hit our inflation target. I think the risks as to the two statutory targets we have, price stability and maximum employment, I think those are coming much more into balance. My colleagues and I are looking at that, and we fully understand that we have to manage this process of administering the federal funds rate and deciding what to do with it in a way that manages both of those risks. And the two mandates are equal under the law, and so yes, we do get that.
Well, I appreciate that, and I appreciate the fact that you've seen that calculation change since you were last here, because I think the data indicates that we are at risk now of not acting soon enough to curb the increase in unemployment, and that if we allow that to go too long, we may see a real uptick there. And so I'm pleased that is very, very much on your radar screen, and hope that will be a really deciding factor as you and your other Fed colleagues determine what to do with respect to interest rates. And as has been said in the housing sector, we are seeing the continuing drag created by high interest rates. So that has been I think all of our colleagues, as you probably heard today, are really hearing from our constituents, understandably, about the very high housing prices. And it's slowed investment in other sectors like manufacturing as well. In my final minute, I would like to turn to the question that Senator Warren asked, because I asked your colleague, Vice Chair Barr, about exactly this question of implementing Section 956 of Dodd-Frank when he was before the committee just a short time ago, May 16th of this year. And I asked him about why the Fed had not moved forward along with other agencies with respect to implementing what the law is and what the law has been for 10 years. NCUA has signaled their intent to propose a rule. The SEC has indicated that they're moving forward. I said to Vice Chair Barr that I've not seen any notice of proposed rule from the Fed, And can I get a commitment that the Fed will quickly begin the process implementing this law by issuing a notice of proposed rule? His answer was, and I'm quoting, "In discussions with my colleagues, it became apparent that at the board, we believe we need to conduct some further analysis before deciding what steps to take. We are committed to following the law, to implementing Section 956, but we have further work to do." Count me among those who are very frustrated that we're now 10 years after this law was passed. Vice Chair Barr committed to following the law. I'm sure, Mr. Chairman, you would commit to following the law. But why is it that it's taking the Fed so long to move forward with implementation of 956?
So I like to look at the actual language of the statute when and what it says is it calls on the regulators to make determinations about specific incentive compensation practices that cause excessive risk taking. And then, and we haven't done that. We did, you know, that we put in place pretty serious guidance back in 2010 after putting it out for comment. We looked at all these questions. It's been in place for 14 years. We supervise on it. And, you know, so the question I'm asking is, okay, let's go out and look at what the practices are that are happening now, not that are happening before the global financial crisis when it was obvious that things needed to be changed. And we put the guidance in place. It seems to have largely worked, certainly as it relates to the large firms. And then let's design something that is designed to the residual risk as opposed to just taking something off the shelf from 15 years ago and doing that. So that, and we're working on that at the Fed now. And again, the statute requires us to prescribe regulations or guidelines to prohibit those things, and I want to do that. In a sense, we have done
just very briefly, and is it your testimony that the Fed has already met the requirements of? Okay,
no.
Just want to make that clear, and we do look forward to the Fed moving forward. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.